You are tapped in with Caden. David Benavidez promises to do serious harm to David Morrell. So, as you know, this fight is official. It is happening. They are set to fight one another, and they had a face-off. And from the beginning, there were fireworks. So we're going to take a look at them behind the green screen. Now, this typically takes place before the first press conference, and the fighters aren't in the best shape. And you can look at David Benavidez and tell that he is well over the weight limit at this particular point in time. But it doesn't matter. Let's pay attention to the fireworks that's taking place right here. Let's listen.
We're good.
So I'm gonna just pause it right here. So one thing you notice off the rip is you can see the size advantage goes to David Morrell. You can see that David Morrell is slightly taller and he's slightly bigger than David Benavidez. Pause. So you can see that. Another thing you notice is David Morrell has the Eddie Kane Jr. Hairdo going on right there, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, David Benavidez is taking on a talented fighter who is bigger than him. And that's one observation that I made when I saw this off the rip. It was finally I get to see David Benavidez in there with someone who has the size advantage over him. So to me, that's one aspect of this fight. But of course, the trash talk didn't die down. It continued during the course of the press conference. And we're going to look at some of what was said right here. So here's an exchange between David Benavidez and David Morrell at the press conference.
And I'm not playing with no Sam. I'm gonna break his mouth because that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Yeah.
David Morrell,
Really?
when he says,
Man, you don't have power for this.
You don't have. I
You
don't
don't have power for
I don't
this.
have power. No, I don't have power.
Not for this.
I'm gonna show you.
To break my
I'm
mouth?
gonna show you. I'm gonna
man.
show you. I'm gonna break your
Hell
fucking
no.
mouth. I'm gonna break your fucking
Hell no.
mouth.
You're not
Talking all
power
that
to break my
shit.
mouth. Hell no.
Talking all that shit.
Hell
When you have a
no. Hell
fucking
no.
jaw brace on,
You don't have
that's
power.
gonna be. That's
Man,
my
but
gift to
you have
you.
you boys.
That's
you
my
know
gift to
more
you.
better, man. Like, shut the fuck up, bitch. What the fuck do you mean?
What are you saying?
You
What
know,
are you saying?
Man, you're a stupid shit.
I'm gonna beat the fuck out of you.
No.
All right, so just a few things. One, you see in the back, it's February 1st, live on pay-per-view on Prime, Amazon Prime. So this is one fight that I would say people need to dish out the money. You know what I always say, I'm president of David Benavidez 50 because he did 50,000 pay-per-view buys against Caleb Plant and 50,000 against Demetrius Andrade. And I showed my receipts on this channel. I actually bought the fight. So people who were getting mad at me because I wasn't saying the things they wanted to say in regards to David Benavidez's pursuits of Canelo, I still support David Benavidez. We're going to continue to look at this right here.
I'm okay.
I'm gonna
What do
beat
you
the
do?
fuck out.
Okay, baby. What do you
Beat the
do?
fuck out of you.
Whatever you do.
All right. And then I
Whatever
want
you
you to
do.
come ready because
Whatever
I'll beat the
you
fuck
do.
out of you. I want you guys to give
Whatever
me.
you do.
I want you guys to give me the props I
Whatever you
deserve.
do.
All right. We'll see.
Whatever you do.
We'll see.
Whatever you do.
You know what? These are,
Stupid.
like I said, these are the type of
Stupid.
fighters I want people that are
That's stupid.
What the fuck you getting on
Man,
your
my
phone for?
guy-
We're in the press
my
conference.
guys is more
We're in
important
the
to you,
press.
bro.
Now he's gonna go on Instagram. Look at this guy. He's nervous, man.
Number what? Number
Vas a ver.
¿Qué voy a ver, mijo? ¿Qué voy a ver?
Vas a
Voy a ver
tirarle
difusión
esa
nunca
pinche
vio.
fijada. Vas a
Voy a
ver.
ver difusión nunca vio, mijo.
I just think it's funny that David Benavidez is calling him out for looking on his phone because if I recall correctly, David Benavidez was reading off of his phone at the press conference that he had with Caleb Plant before the Caleb Plant fight. Because I remember people clowning David Benavidez about that. It's like you needed your phone to say that. It was almost Cardi B-esque when Cardi B got up on the stage and gave her little spiel. But yeah, so it's just funny to hear him call out David Morrell for that. But
I want to see.
No se me preocupe, chiquita, ahí la atiendo. Ahí la atiendo cuando quiera.
Okay.
No se me preocupe, chiquita, que ahí la atiendo. Tu papá sabe lo que estás diciendo, tú no, porque tú no eres de allá, tranquilo.
The fuck is this guy saying?
Ahora para el
This
inglés.
guy's a fucking
Ahora para el
idiot.
inglés.
He's an idiot.
Pinche puto, no mames, ya.
Where to see? This is what I want. I want somebody that's confident. I want him to think he's gonna come beat me. I want him to think he's gonna come knock me out. I'm gonna beat the fuck out of him.
yeah, so that's another interesting exchange because you can tell that David Benavidez can speak English better than David Morrell, but David Morrell obviously speaks Spanish better than David Benavidez. So it's going to be interesting to see how the trash talk goes over with each other, because it seems like they're going to need a translator to get through to one another at certain points in times. But David Benavidez also got up to speak, and this is what David Benavidez said when he got up to speak. We're going to take a listen.
He's been talking about me for a while, for about 2 or 3 years, disrespecting me, disrespecting my dad, disrespecting my brother. So now he wanted to take it personal with me. So I'm personally going to break his fucking mouth so he has something to remember me by.
All right, so before I give my take on this, the first thing I want to highlight is this is Saturday, February 1st. It's on Prime pay-per-view. So Amazon Prime for pay-per-view Saturday, February 1st, 2025. Floyd Mayweather tweeted, said that this is the best card. I know Esau Pitbull Cruz is on the undercard. Brandon Figueroa versus Stephen Fulton on the undercard. So some pretty good fights on the undercard. But let's jump into this fight right here. This, to me, is the test for David Benavidez. He's been calling Canelo Alvarez out, but everyone has been saying, what have you done on your own, David, besides beat guys who Canelo has already beaten, or guys that we don't even perceive to be a threat to Canelo, to earn the Canelo Alvarez fight? So to sum that up, he beat Caleb Plant by decision. Canelo stopped Caleb Plant when he was undefeated to take his title. David Benavidez beat Demetrius Andrade, who was undefeated at the time he beat Demetrius Andrade, but Demetrius Andrade showed tremendous signs of slippage in his 2 fights prior to that, and he was much smaller than David Benavidez. So this is the first fight that, and then he beat Vuzdek, the guy who was old past his prime at 175. So this is the first fight where, personally, I believe that David Benavidez is fighting someone who is a legitimate threat to him. I believe David Morrell is going into this fight looking at David Benavidez and saying, I can beat him. I believe he believes that. He's talented. He has skill. He has punching power. He has the size advantage. This is the first fight where I feel like David Benavidez has a chance to knock off someone who we would be curious to see if Canelo could do the same. So props to David Benavidez for taking this fight. I think David Benavidez has finally realized that he needs to carve his own path instead of beating a guy Canelo already beat or beating someone and calling out Canelo. You have to make the public demand the Canelo fight. And right now, there's one aspect of the public demanding the Canelo fight. And those are the people who don't like Canelo. And those are the people who look for every reason to discredit Canelo. So it doesn't matter what Canelo does, because as soon as he beats someone, they're looking for the next guy. They're calling out the next guy. Well, why don't you fight this guy, right? So Canelo's at a stage where if he fought Dimitri Bivol next, people will be saying he's fighting Bivol to avoid David Benavidez. And if he fought David Benavidez, people would still come up with an excuse. If he beats David Benavidez, they're going to say he's too young. He hasn't fought nobody. David Benavidez wasn't proven. They're going to highlight the things I just said about his resume. So this fight right here, to me, gets him a step closer to Canelo. Because, one, he gets to knock off a young, hungry lion who has the size advantage over him, who has power, who has good speed, who has good boxing IQ, comes from the good Cuban school of boxing. So this would go a long way for him. But there's one other thing that could go a long way for David Benavidez to get the fight with Canelo Alvarez, and that's the pay-per-view sales. And that's why, again, I will remind you all, Amazon Prime pay-per-view Saturday, February 1st. If you really want to see David Benavidez fight Canelo Alvarez, you have to do your part. David Benavidez has to go in there and he has to take care of David Morrell. But you as the fan, if you want this fight, you have to do your part. You have to show Canelo Alvarez that there's money in this fight. And the way to do that is to go and support the fighter, which I've done, which I've showed my receipts for on this channel for David Benavidez's last 2 fights. You must go and purchase the fight. If David Benavidez can somehow sell 500,000 pay-per-view buys or more, I think that will go a long way to showing Canelo that his fan base is behind him and supporting him. So what happens if David Benavidez should beat David Morrell in impressive fashion, as he's predicting, saying that he's going to break his jaw, he would call out Canelo. And the fans will be saying, we want to see it. And I'm be honest, at this point, me as someone who's been saying he hasn't done enough, depending on how he would win this fight, I would be saying, stamp it. Let's get this fight. But to back it up, he needs the numbers. And if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense at the end of the day. And Canelo still has other options out there like Bivol, Benavidez, hell, Jake Paul may even be in play now. There's probably some people who would love to see Canelo spark out Jake Paul. The point I'm making is Canelo is the man with options. So you want to make yourself an attractive option, a lucrative option, and one that he must consider. In order for that to happen, David Benavidez must have an impressive performance and the numbers must add up. So if you're watching this and you love boxing and you've been one of those people clamoring for Canelo Alvarez to fight David Benavidez, do your part. Support the fighter. February 1st, Amazon Prime, pay-per-view, order the fight. We all know the streaming services you can go to watch the fight. Yes, it's very convenient. Yes, you get to save a few dollars, but in the end, it hurts the bottom line. If your bottom line is to see David Benavidez fight Canelo Alvarez, this is the time where David Benavidez needs you to come out and actually buy the fight. I will be buying the fight on February 1st. This is a great fight for David Benavidez. Props to David Benavidez. I give props where it's due, and I give criticism where it's due. Props to David Benavidez for taking on a serious threat to prove himself and to build himself up. And the last point I'll make is this. Even if this doesn't lead to the Canelo fight, this is the type of fight that sets David Benavidez up to be a superstar in his own right, to be someone that people want to see in his own right. So if he builds himself up to be a superstar in his own right, he won't need Canelo anyway. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. Thank you for watching Cadence Kerfuffle. I'm out. Peace.